What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today we're doing a regional report, and what's your name, sir?
Alex Cook.
Alrighty, now we see right now your deck list is the Sableye Garbodor list. And before we talk about any tournament or anything like that, why did you decide to play this deck?
Um, Expanded is one of those things where every deck loses to another deck, and Expanded's like always been that for the past I don't know, like 3 years. Ever since Expanded was there, like you
Right.
have a deck that loses to another deck. Yeah, ever since. And so I wanted to come in with a deck that had no bad matchups, quote unquote. It's the same reason I've been on Manectric for a very long time because I still think that about Manectric. It's super consistent, and you don't have a deck that just hard counters you. And I also feel that about Sableye. And then the other real reason is because it's a comfort pick for me. Last season, it's the deck that got me the most points. I got something like 250 points just from Sable Garb. So it's very much like a comfortable pick. And after the disaster that was Vileplume Sammy, or the Sammy box that I played in Arizona, I said, you know what, never again. I will play Sable Garb for every single expanded tournament from here on out, so I don't make a fool of myself like I did in Arizona. So yeah.
I mean, that kind of goes like with the logic when people say, like, once you find a deck, stick with it forever kind of thing.
Yeah, I
So,
never thought I'd be that kind of player, but Sable Garb is like I freaking love that deck, man. It's so much. It's mean, but it's fun.
yeah, oh yeah, I understand. So,
Yeah.
all right, so going to day one, what were your matches like? What happened and all that good stuff?
All right, I got this written down so I don't forget.
Oh, good.
Yeah, round one was against Ian Kabakungan. Yeah, nailed it. This was his first ever tournament. And I felt sorry. I mean, I feel sorry for them when I play with this deck, but like people that play their first tournament ever and they're playing against Sable Garb, I'm just like, oh man, like welcome to competitive. This is how it is. Don't get to have fun. He turns over. I turn over to Sableye, and he turns over Froakie. And I was like, crap. Like, is this how today is going to be? Like, am I going to play like my bad matchups like all day? But my fear was quickly alleviated because he goes, "Can I beat Sableye?" And I was just like, "Oh, ooh, ooh. Here we go. Like, we're gonna be okay."
Yeah.
And so yeah, that matchup is if you know how to play a matchup, you like only water duplicates for one, so that you can, if the Sableye player mills the Froakie and target whistles it, you can evolve it so that you have free retreat always. There's a lot of weird nuances like that, and he didn't know how to do that, so he water duplicates turn 2 for 4, and I was able to just pin Frogadiers in the active with relative ease, for more or less. But yeah, that's how game 1 win. And game 2 was he started Talonflame, and I locked that in the active because that's another way to win that matchup is if they start Talonflame, you just win. Because they have to take 2 shots on you, and you can always kind of pin it in the Aqua's base because they can't attach twice per turn, yada yada. Greninjas, if they start Talonflame, you have a shot. If they're a good Greninja player and they know the matchup, it's very rough. So, but that's why we play the Pokemon Center Lady, which didn't come into play round 1. So like right away I was like, cool, I beat Greninja and didn't need Pokemon Center Lady. We made a mistake with that, so I was kind of like discouraged because of it, but it turned out to be good eventually. So yeah, that was a win. Round 2 was against Peter Kaika. I think that's how you say his name, right? Kaika?
That's good.
New York, right?
Yeah.
Known for Night March. I asked someone like right before I went up, and I was like, "Is Kaika playing Night March?" And they're like, "Duh, come on, man. Like,
Is it
who are
Peter?
you? Are you like, what are you new? Like, yeah, Peter's playing Night March." I got a little lucky. I'll always admit it when I'm lucky because holy crap. Game 1, I played a turn 1 Trick Shovel and I milled the DCE. Junk hunted for it, and then turn 2 played a Trick Shovel, milled the DCE. And I was just like, oh, cool. Like, yeah. That match was fun because it's a race between like, can he take 6 prizes before I can deny 8 to 10 energies, and he played Special Charge too. And I never hit a mill on a puzzle, so like he was gonna get like 10 to 12 energies, and I was like, oh, my life, you better not be pressed. So and it wasn't. I managed to like Lysander stall Shaman a whole bunch of times, and every time I did, he sky returned it, but then I just ended back into his deck, and so eventually he just starts drawing dead and I lock him, sort of thing. So I 2-0'd Kaika fairly quickly, but he didn't know who I was at first, and that's fine. Like, I'm not that well known, but at the same time, I think he thought I was some like random scrubby guy. And so he just wasn't happy because I was like trying to talk to him and stuff, and he just wasn't having it. So
He's like, "Who is this person playing Sableye? Leave me alone."
yeah, he's like, this guy. We chit chatted throughout the rest of the tournament. He's a cool guy. I really enjoy him. But at the time, I was just like, man, like, come on, man, we're having fun. We're playing Pokemon. Let's go. And he just wasn't having it.
Like, I'm not having fun.
Yeah. Round 3 was Russell Lepar, and no one ever says his name right. It was Russell playing the carbon. What is it?
Lepare.
Is it Lepare, really?
I don't know. We'll make a third name.
Oh yeah, it's Lepare. I'm gonna say that now. All right, I was playing against Russell Lepare, and he was playing that Zygarde Carbink grossness. And the round before, he actually sat right next to me playing against Zane Nelson, who was also playing Sableye Garbodor. The Sable Garb build was a lot different. Like, he played Malamar EX and like other cute stuff, and I was just like, this guy's a genius. He's like, yeah, it's for Trevenant. Like, you just like start slowly attaching to Malamar, and like, what do they do? I was just like, that's brilliant. But he got just absolutely styled on by Russell because, like, we learned very quickly, and I didn't know this before, embarrassingly enough, that you can diamond gift to yourself. I had no idea about that, which is embarrassing because I should. But that's scary. Like, attach an energy, diamond gift. Now I have to remove 3 energies every single turn. Like, oof. So I looked over at one point. I saw 8 energies on a Carbink, and I was just like, "Oh man, like, sorry, buddy." So like, even with the Malamar, like, I feel like the Malamar could do work. Like, if you can hit double tails and maybe knock it out, but it wasn't happening. But my build's not like that, and the only reason I took we ended up tying. We went 1-1. And the only reason I took game 1 off of him is because early on he had to pitch a Zygarde EX, and I don't think he knew that I played Target Whistle. So I whistled it out and Lysandered it and was able to play like the stall game. But then again, I didn't know that he played 2 AZ instead of the 1. So like, the second one comes down and it's just like, you son of a, like, that's the worst. Who plays 2 AZ in a deck? Like, the not named Vileplume. And the reason I got away with that game is because he prized his 4th versus Seeker. When he had like one or two prizes left, he prized it. Like, I was able to get a lockup relatively easy, kind of thing. And it's weird because you can't go for Confuse Ray stall because they play like 5 or 6 Pokemon Lady in their deck, so like, you can't stall in that way. So it's weird. I remember there was one turn that I sky returned into my Latias to prevent his Carbink from hitting me because I didn't set up Garb. It was really weird. Game 2, I got just steamrolled. Like, he just, every turn he just attached to his Zygarde and just blopped me every turn. So, so I learned quickly, like, that. Oh, like, I will take Greninja over Carbink any day of the week. I learned very fast.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to say Carbink, and thank goodness I didn't see it again for the rest of the tournament. Like, whew, dodge that. Round 4 is against Alex May. He's a first-year master from California, playing Maxie's Dark. And when I sat down, he said, "Do you want to ID and go get lunch?" And I said, "Oh, you don't have any confidence. I will gladly play this out." And I gladly 2-0'd him and moved on with my life.
Do you want to ID round 4?
Yeah, I was round 4. He wanted to ID with me, and I was just like, "Ooh, you are scared." Like,
He knew what you were playing.
oh yeah, he did. Well, Alex May. So we sit next to each other in the player meeting. And we were chit-chatting about what we were playing, and I was like, "Oh, I'm playing Sable Garb," and he was just like, "Oh, you're awful," and I was like, "Like, I know." Anyways, round 5 was against Isaiah Williams. He's also a younger player, also playing Maxie's Dark, and this was kind of the round that I knew that I had a shot, because game 1 I started Trubbish and passed, and he was like, "Oh, cool, Mewtwo DCE kill." I was like, "Great, like, this is awful." Not the first time I got donked all tournament either. Or not the first time, sorry. Not the only time I got donked. I got donked again later on. It's awful. But so I knew I had to finish 2 games in like 40 minutes, and I was like, "This is awful. Like, what do I do? I'm Sable Garb. No one ever finishes game 3." But somehow I played lightning fast. It was such a blur. I don't remember anything from these games because I was playing like I was like a character from some anime because I was going so fast. It was ridiculous. Um, but that's where like Team Rocket's handiwork really earned its spot. All my Poke Beach guys were like, "Dude, drop that card. It's trash. You don't need it. You can lock it without it." And I said, "Yeah, but I like it." That was my one argument. I had no other argument. I was just like, "But I want to." Um, and so, game 3, I play like handiwork every single turn just to try to mill him like really, really, really quickly. And we ended up finishing with like 10 minutes left in the round too, just because of handiwork. Um, it's one of those things where you should only play it in a best 2 out of 3 situation because if you can finish game 3s, you can actually do it, surprisingly. But if you're ever playing like a best of 1 format of some sort, I say drop it right away. It's more important to have consistency or to have extra locking cards or something. You need it to finish game 3s other than that. So, but I got out of that match finishing game 3 and I was like, this is my tournament. I just finished a game 3 with Sableye. Like, I'm going to win. Like, I knew it. So, and everyone else was like, just like freaking out. They're like, how did that happen? So it was good. Round 6 was against Mike Marino. I think he's kind of also a newer player. I could be wrong on that. But he was playing Archie Stoice, and that's almost a layup for Sableye. It's one of, if not the best matchups like of all time, because they have to get out Stoice so that they can attach multiple energies to a Keldeo, so you're not hammering them off. But when they do that, you set up Garb and Lysander their 4 retreat cards Stoice.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? And so then they do a cool thing. They're like, "Oh, cool! I'll attach 4 energies to a Blastoise before I do that." But then you like Lysander something else on their bench because they're going to bench a bajillion things, or you just hammer off all their energy. It's a crazy easy matchup, super easy. But I started a lone Sableye, and the night before we kind of talked about doing this, just because people are now like teching in Sableye into their dark decks. So out loud, I was just like, "Ah, man, I hate starting this card. Ugh, like it's the one, like ugh." And he's just like, "Cool." And like turn 1, he plays like 3 Acrobyte, 3 Unknown, couple Superior Energy Rituals, just goes, I swear, like 40 cards out of his deck to get his turn 1 Stoice. And then I just draw and bench the second Sableye in my hand, and he's just like, "Oh!" Like he just starts like swearing up a storm. He was really mad. And I was just like, "I didn't know." He's like, "I thought it was dark." And so I was just like, "Yeah." So I got to see his entire deck. And he was super fun to play against. He was super talkative. Most people when they play me, they're just like they're just all grumpy and stuff.
Yeah.
Understandably, which is fine. But he was fun. And I really enjoyed playing with him. Just like even though I was styling on him. In game 2, I opened Latios and passed because he didn't play Articuno or Hex or anything like that. And so he had nothing that could hurt my Articuno. And so I was like, "Cool, I want to quit game 1. I'm just gonna chill now." And that's I just like drew past. I junk hunted I junk hunted like once or twice just to like kind of speed it up a little bit. Like I played a handiwork, played the Sable, I retreated and junk hunted for 2 versus Seekers so I could do it more.
Yeah.
But other than that, like Latios just won me that game just because. He also didn't play a Floatstone too, which was awesome because. And it's not like he's a bad player. He finished he made day 2. 4 of the 9 of my opponents made day 2.
Jeez.
I think it's 4, right? 1, 2. Sorry, no. 5 of my opponents made day 2.
Jeez.
Yeah, Russell, Isaiah, Bodie, Eric, and Raymond all made day 2. So like I was playing good players, which was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And only one of my opponents had a losing record. The round 1 opponent, like Peter, still made 5-4. So that was really cool that I played good players and I got to see him day 2. And I didn't really ruin anyone's dreams that hard.
You were just a 1 loss or second
yeah,
loss or something like that.
Exactly. So like I gave all my opponents good resistance. So like I'm happy for them that I didn't like crush their dreams because it's really discouraging to play against Sable Garb and I always feel really bad. Yeah. It's one of those things where like I've always said it and I'll say it a billion times again that it's a win-win with it because either A, they get so mad and so pissed off that they make misplays the entire game, or they draw pass the entire game, and they're forced to talk to you, and you make a new friend. It's one of those two. So you're always gonna get away with something nice. Anyways, that was Mike. Archie Stories. It's a free win. Round 7, I played against Bodie Tracy, and he's a good buddy. He stayed in my room Sunday night, and I got to know him a lot better, and he's a really cool guy. So we've played a couple times. He was playing Dark Tina, which is fairly easy because they have to have their double dragons to do damage, and they have 2 energy attackers, and you're just taking away all their energies and just waiting. So that was my other donk. He did donk my Sableye one game, and I did finish that game 3 as well. There was another one where I finished 2 game 3s. I don't know. I don't know if it's luck or skill. It's one of the two. Maybe a bit
Or
of
your
both.
day.
Or my day. Or that's just how I was running. But that was another thing where game 3 I was just playing handiworks. Like, I didn't care to junk hunt for hammers. It was junk hunt for versus secret so I could handiwork. So I could just go.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did I say there? Oh yeah, he didn't play an AZ either, which actually really hurt him. No, not AZ. Sorry, not AZ. Zerosic. He didn't play Zerosic, so he couldn't ever get out of the Garb lock, and that's really bad for Dark because then you don't have free retreat, and you need that. Like, you need that big time. So he told me afterwards, like, he talked about it a whole bunch. We talked about it at length Sunday night when we were hanging out, and he's like, I really wanted Zerosic, but I needed these other cards, and so on and so forth. But at this point, I was 6-0-1, so I knew I could ID out. But I sat down and played against round 8 against Eric Wallig, another Seattle player, really, really cool guy. And he was playing Trevenant, and so he was like, oh, I think I have a good matchup against Sableye. So I'm going to go ahead and not ID and play for round 2 or day 2 standings. And I said, hey, that's totally fine. We'll play the Trev matchup. My buddy Ben, who I worked on the list with, who I drove or roomed with, this was his first ever regionals, and we were playing the same 60. And he had gone 2-0 against Trevenant at this point. And so I was like, oh, cool. Like, we know we can beat Trevenant. And game 1, I was able to Lysander loop him. Basically, like, Lysander, play the Versus Seeker, junk hunt for the Versus Seeker. And just keep doing that over and over and over again. I did misplay once because I left an energy on a Shaman in the active, and he could have Sky Returned. But then he didn't see that play either, and attached the energy to his bench and passed. So it was like a double misplay. And we talked about it afterwards. We were like, oh, crap, I messed up. No, I messed up. And back and forth. So that's how that game 1 went that just really easily that way because I was able to Lysander like every turn and then hammer and rinse and repeat until it was over. And then round 2, as I'm like drawing my cards, he's like, man, I really hope your Latios is prized. And the first card off the top of my deck was my Latios. And I was just like, yes, like, hey, cool. Like, so I started that. And he computer searches like turn 3, and his one and only Silent Lab was prized, and he didn't play Mewtwo or Wobbuffet. So I just had to win from there, and he was just like, "Ah, cool, you got it." So
Yeah.
I get again, luck. I'll take lucky over good any day of the week. Like every single day, I'd rather be lucky than good, and that's one of those situations. Like Eric is definitely a way better player than that matchup showed, just because I started Latias. But then again, that's why we played it. Because if you hit Hex Ultra Ball or Lysander Ultra Ball, just blop down your Latias, and what do they do? So, then round 9 was against Raymond Reyes, who this was his first tournament too. He was a Pokedad. He got into it because of his son, and he was sitting at a cool 7-0-1. His first ever tournament playing Rainbow Road at one of those like sick VIP tables. He didn't have to move all day. First ever tournament, and I was just like, dude, you must be some sort of god, because holy crap, like, what are you doing? Like, first ever tournament, playing Rainbow Road, I was just blown away. But then again, Rainbow Road is also free for Sable Garb. So I asked him, I said, oh, do you know what I'm playing? And he's like, nah, man, I don't, because he doesn't, first ever tournament, he doesn't have a lot of connections. He's like, nah, I didn't talk to anybody, I don't know what you're playing.
Yeah.
And he had no idea what Sable Garb even did. He said around turn 10, he's like, oh man, you're going to mill me. I was like, yeah. yeah. Right,
That's
cool.
the point.
I was like, yeah, we got it. Good job, bud. So he was a fun guy. Unfortunately, he's a Padres fan, so he's got a rough life, regardless. So, but I enjoyed him. He was fun. So I ended at day 1. That was probably way too long just to talk about matchups. But yeah, I ended day 1 at 8-0-1, number 1 seed, with just a stupid high resistance. this was my third time being number one seeded at regionals. But this was like the first time that I really felt special about it. I was just like, yes, this is the one.
Yeah.
I had a whole bunch of confidence, which I didn't entering into the tournament. So I was like, oh, I'm playing Sable Garb, I'm gonna die. But who knows? Day 2, I knew I was playing either against Drew Kennett's Greninja or Josh Fernando's Archie Stories. And obviously, I'd rather have the latter, right? But it didn't work out that way. And but against Drew Kennett, who had just, coming off an Arizona win with Greninja, he's an OG player. He's been playing forever. And I knew he knew how to play the Greninja matchup. Round 1, or game 1, Life Dew wasn't prized, and it took about, I want to say like 35 minutes. It took a long time to play round 1, and I somehow squeaked it out. I was able to lock him. It wasn't on my end, it was on his end. End himself down to like 4 and just missed everything. At one point I did delinquent him down to 0. He mismanaged something. And from there I was able to lock him and it was fine. Game 2 was the sticky one because he bounced my parallel really early and I just couldn't get it back at all ever. And that was really scary. I think I only Pokemon Center related once or twice. Effectively Pokemon Center related, but never consistently. I never was able to loop it.
Yeah.
So it came down to this really. I would put it in my top 5 games of all time. Honestly, that game should have been streamed because it was bananas. But he had 1 prize left when time was called. 0 cards in hand on my turn. So he's playing for the tie, right? Obviously, because we can't. Duh. So on my turn, he had 0 cards in hand, a Greninja active, 1 prize left. I had no puzzles in hand, and my Life Dew was just freshly in the discard. So my 2 options were either A, leave my Sableye active, junk hunt for double puzzle, hope he misses the top deck of an energy, because then I just double puzzle for Life Dew and I win. Or I retreat into Shaman and pass, and hope he doesn't have an energy to loop, because then I couldn't retreat into another Pokemon at that point, because he could just one-shot anything. In hindsight, I probably should have just retreated into Shaman, because if he misses energy, I win anyways, because then if he gets it on the second turn, he attaches and hits me for 100, whatever.
Yeah.
But if he hits energy, he wins anyways because he just Moonlight Slashes twice. In hindsight, I should have just done that, because then it would have given me an extra top deck out to try to get the energy out of his hand again. But instead, I go for the puzzle, and he top decks a Rough Seas was the top deck. So I was able to get the Life Dew and be like, oh, oof. But yeah, it was the most that was one of the biggest decisions I made all weekend, was what to do in that scenario. And I made the wrong one, but thank goodness it didn't bite me, because I would have been kicking myself hard. But anyways, 901, 29 points, guaranteed top 8, basically. I need to tie one more time, and my resistance is through the roof. But the next round I was against Raymond Reyes again, the Rambo Road player. And I was just like, oh, cool. And so I sat down and I said, hey, did you talk to anybody about this matchup last night? And he goes, nope. And I was like, all right. So he kind of thought on it. He kind of churned it in his head a little bit, and right off the bat he drew and said pass, and I was like, oh, cool. So he learned. But regardless, it's still a horrible matchup. If they miss rebirths, you just target whistle them out. When they attack, you go Flare Grunt, Enhanced Hammer. It's a rough matchup. So I was able to take that 2-0 fairly easily. And so then from 10-01, guaranteed 1 billion% top 8, which was really weird, because then going into round 12, I'm sitting at 31 points, and right behind me, I played against Kenny Britton, and he was at 26 points. So I was 5 points ahead of the guy in second seed. I was just like, what do I do? But then we realized I would play against people that I wouldn't like. If I was playing against a Zygarde Carbink, play the match out and try to beat it so it stays out of top 8. Or you scoop to it if you know you can beat it in top 8, to try to get it into top 8.
Yeah.
And so Greninja's one of those ones where I was like, I don't want to see this in top 8. So I was sitting down ready to play it, but then Kenny says to me, dude, I'm really scared. He said that to me, and I was just like, ooh. He thinks he can't beat me. And I found out later he doesn't play Muscle Band in his list, so he could never one-shot Garb if he ever Lysandered it. So I knew Garb was safe. But, like, I found that out way later. But that's why he wasn't confident, because he didn't play Muscle Band. He couldn't break the Parallel City. He couldn't one-shot Garb. And I was going to have that matchup. So I probably should have played it out, but the fact of him saying he wasn't confident was like, okay, I'll give you the option to ID. Do you want to ID? And he's like, I'm going to think about it. And I said, okay, by turn 3, game 1, you can no longer ID. You have to decide, like, in the first 2 or 3 turns. And he's like, okay, cool. He starts Froakie, ends, and then goes, do you want to ID? So he obviously ended himself in a bad hand.
Yeah.
But then again, my hand had a significant lack of supporters or shamans or Ultra Balls or Trainer's Mail. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, let's go. So we ID'd. That might have been a mistake, but who knows? It did. I said to him, I think it was him. I think I said it to Keon. I can't remember, but I said, remember this in top 8, and then I played him in top 8 and got styled on. So, whoops. Well, whatever. You don't know that you're gonna play that person in top 8, so I did. Round 13 was against Keon, who was playing Maxie's Dark, and I love that matchup. It's so fun, and it's not easy, but it's a good matchup. So I scooped to him to guarantee him. I found out later. I watched an interview he did. And he's like, I was totally fine with the idea. I don't know why he scooped to me. Because I sat down and just told him. I was just like, I'm going to scoop to you. He's just like, okay.
I'll take it.
He was like, sure. So, like, the only reason that one was, like, maybe a mistake is because I could have had that undefeated record. And a lot of people were like, oh, you only had 1 loss to the tournament. And I was like, excuse me. No. Like, random people will see my record and think that I lost one, but I scooped. So I don't know. Whatever. That's the only reason. Is just for, like, the glory of going undefeated. Was the only reason that I really shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But whatever. And the fact that I didn't play him. But whatever. And then round 14 was against Israel. Israel Sosa. Playing Dark, obviously. And I probably like another really, like, a hindsight thing. I should have scooped to him as well, because then it wouldn't have made me #1 seed, and it wouldn't have put me into, like, the bracket of death. It would have put me on the other bracket where everyone was playing Dark. And instead, I was on the side of the bracket that had Greninja and Carbink in it. Yeah, so like, if I had, what I should have done is I should have sat around and, like, him and I could have, like, played a game, and we could have, I could have said to him, like, look, 20, 30 minutes in, I'm going to decide to either ID or scoop to you. And, based off what is what I should have done. Because then I could have seen Sam beating the Dark deck and then been like, okay, I scoop because I don't want to I want to not be against him. And that's a situation that no one ever gets themselves into because of how far I was ahead of everyone else. Like, the last 3 rounds, I was able to determine what was going to and what wasn't going to get into COT.
True.
And so that's super weird, and I feel like I might have misplayed it, but then again, like how would you ever decide to, like, how would you ever determine that? It's like, I could have taken the time, sat down, mathed it out, looked down the line, and told every single one of my opponents, look, just chill for 50 minutes, like, right there. Don't go get lunch. Don't go have fun. Don't go talk to your friends. Chill. I'm going to scoop to you eventually, but I want to make sure I can. How do you tell someone that you're going to do that? So if I was a little bit more selfish, I might have, like, told Israel, like, dude, don't go anywhere. I might scoop to you instead of IDing. But whatever.
Yeah.
So I did go in at #1 seed again to top 8, which, like,
still amazing.
put me in the bracket. Still great,
Yeah.
right? Like I said, 3rd time doing it, which is awesome. Like, not many players can say that. Even, like, the players that win multiple regionals don't always go in at #1 seed. So, like, to say just to that alone is, like, great, cool, I'll take it. But then again, it put me into that bracket of death, and then again, I did get styled on in top 8. So, but yeah, top 8. I don't want to take anything away from what Kenny did. He played amazingly. He got 2nd, right? You can't take that away from him.
Yeah.
He played the matchup perfectly. He obviously studied up on it. He talked to people. He knew what he was doing, and he played everything exactly how he was supposed to. And he asked me afterwards, he's like, do you think I played that wrong? And I said, dude, you did everything perfectly. But game 1, I prized life due. Game 2, I prized 2 puzzles. I don't ever like to blame prizes because it's like, oh, there's something else you can do during the game. Like, game 1, I was still able to lock him, but I locked him with 1 prize left. I end him to 4, end him to 3, end him to 2, and every single time he either had a supporter or So it sucks. It is what it is. It sucks to hear from other players like, dude, this is your tournament, you got this. Like, and especially players you like don't know, and respected players of the community that are just like, dude, you're running so hot today, you're running so good, you're killing it with the deck. This is your tournament. It sucks to hear that, and then to have cards not fall your way in top 8.
Yeah.
But then again, that's Pokemon, and that's something that you have to like remind yourself. Like, I'm going into this game with the possibility of like that luck factor just completely biting me in the face, and that's what happened. But I feel like I played well, and I feel like I earned enough respect from the community that like people can like start to be like, instead of Alex being this Pacific Northwest player that's a West Coast and it's so free and all this other stuff, I think I can finally like sit down and be like, okay, maybe people are a little bit scared of me now, and that's all I want. Like, I don't want to win nationals or worlds. I just want people to be scared of me. That's it. Right?
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
And I think the cool thing is too, you put a Sable Garbodor back on the map.
Yeah. Well, TJ got top 8 with it in Arizona, and I don't know why people like kind of just brush that aside, like, oh, 8th, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the only reason I put it on the map is because I went undefeated.
No, exactly.
Right, which is great. And I really appreciate that. Now people will forever link my name to Sable Garb, which is cool. But yeah.
Thank you. But still, congratulations. Like, I'd take top 8 any day of the week.
Yeah, right? Thanks. I appreciate it.
Like, if somebody's like, hey, man, you're going to have this fantastic run at regionals, but you're going to dead draw in top 8. You want it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like going into the tournament, you're going to take that every day. So, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
So, it just sucks at the end of the day. You're like, if only XYZ, I could have XYZ. Like,
right.
Yeah, but still.
Right. Exactly. And I appreciate you saying that. That's definitely true. And so I don't feel bitter about it. Like, I had an amazing weekend, met a lot of cool players, and finally got to meet some of the big names in the game. And I've been limited to West Coast mostly, and now I'm kind of like branching out, and that's what I'll take that over anything.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, now I know I got a couple questions. I know a lot of people have already asked you a bunch on Verbank and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But the first question, I know people are gonna look at this list and be like, 3 puzzles. What's going on there?
Yeah. That was a decision that I mean, it was in TJ's list too, so I knew it worked. I knew it was something that's been proven, and that's what I kind of took from TJ's list. I was like, okay, these ideas actually work, and now I can apply them to this. It was something that a lot of my draw pass buddies were like, dude, you need to play 4, period, end of discussion. Like, you need to. But list is like, space is stupid tight. If you go back and watch the interview I did with you last year, I was playing Sable Garb, I talked about no one-ofs at all. I played 2 Super Rod, 2 Tool Scrapper, 2 everything, because I didn't want to prize anything. The only one-ofs were Life Dew, Enhanced Timber, and Xerosic, which are essentially the same thing. But nowadays, with expanded as so, like back then it was like 6 decks, and you could counter them with those cards. But now there's like 20 in expanded, and there's no way you can get by in every single matchup not playing one-ofs. So there's so many things that are required. So I hate saying like space is tight, but like honestly, if you are forced to play like 3 versus Seeker 3 puzzle, yeah, space is tight. Space is way tight. So that's the reason, is just because I knew that I could get away with it. Don't get me wrong, there were almost every single game I was like, dang, I wish I had 4 of these guys. Like, holy crap. Because like when you have 3 of them and none of them are prized, and you have 1 in the discard pile and you manage to like top deck another one, your junk hunt now doesn't have to go for 2 puzzles. It can go for 1 puzzle and something else, because you already have the 2 other ones in your hand. And that frees you up for when they end you, not if they end you. Because you get end almost every single time, every turn. And so now you already have 1 puzzle in the discard, so now your chances of drawing into another one and then junk hunting for them are way greater. And I like having that out. And 4 makes that so much better. It's not because of the prize factor, it's because of drawing into them and being able to junk hunt for a puzzle and 1 something else. That's the real reason that 4 is nice, not prizing. But at the end of the day, short answer, 3, you can get away with it and it works.
Now, so it's one of the puzzle situations. Um, so you would rather have one in your discard and two in your deck, or three in your deck?
One on the discard, two in the deck.
Okay, one
If
discard. Two. Okay.
if you had to be forced to it, because if you draw into one, you can junk hunt for it later. You're not looking to do it that turn.
Yeah.
I've never ran into a situation where I'm like, ah man, I just got end. I sure hope I draw into two puzzles now. Like, you don't need it that turn. You can chill. Like, let them take a prize. Go for it. I'll let them take the first four prizes every day of the week. Because that end to two with a life to when you're active is just so strong. Too good. So then you can be like, ah, yeah, you did that. Cool. Junk hunt for versus seeker and puzzle. And then they're like, oh boy, if I end him, I'm ending myself down to two. If I don't end him, he's got all those broken cards in his hand. So, you know, that's why you can get away with three, and that's why it's fine to have one on the discard, two in the deck.
Okay.
Almost preferred. Honestly, almost preferred.
Now, you talked about how you didn't want to play one ofs. What was one of you would hate to prize?
Life do?
Like, oh, fair enough. Yeah.
But besides life do.
Yeah, but
That's a cop out answer. Like, yeah. Does it? I mean, it's a hard question to answer because it depends on the matchup.
True.
Like target whistle, you can prize in a lot of matchups, but then in a whole bunch of other ones, like there's no way. And like same with Parallel City, like prize that every single day against Dark, but never prize it against Greninja. But generally speaking, it's probably one of the supporters. In like blanket every single matchup, it's probably one of the one-off supporters. Probably Handiwork, I think. But then again, you can play the deck without it. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'll go with Delinquent.
Okay.
Delinquent, 100% Delinquent. That's the one.
I thought you were going to say Super Odd here for a second.
I mean, a lot of people ask me about the one of Super Rod too. As long as you don't prize your Super Rod and two puzzles, you're fine. But if you prize two puzzles and your Super Rod, that's the only time where I would say 100% you need to scoop right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't get anything. You can't get any Sableyes back, and it's like the best case scenario in that point is you going like garbage collection for a Sableye, and that's so bad.
Did you ever use garbage collection at all, or no?
I mean, yeah, garbage collection is mainly used for the Toad matchups, so you can recycle your flare guns under item lock.
Yeah.
But no, there were times where I was drawing dead and I had like garbage collection, a trainer's mail or something, and it worked fine. I realized that you could do it for free against Night March. That never came into play, but I said that out loud against Peter. I was like, "Oh man, I can garbage collection for free. It's so cool!" But yeah,
That was pretty neat.
Yeah, those things.
Now I feel like we already know this answer because you're leaning towards a certain card when I asked this. What's your favorite one of card? One of in this deck besides Life Dew, obviously.
Yeah, besides Life Dew. Life Dew is so good. My favorite one of?
Yeah.
Like I want to say crap. Like is it Delinquent because I said I don't like pricing it, or is it like Handiwork because everyone told me no and I said yes and I got to flip everyone off because it worked? Like,
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say Handiwork just because you're like, I told you guys it's good.
Well, yeah, no. Like I said, it's only good in best of threes. In best of ones, cut it instantly. Like, oh my gosh, cut it right away. In best of threes, it's what wins you those game threes that I won two of for some reason. Target Whistle is busted. Target Whistle wins you so many games you have no business of winning after regardless. And it's one of those cards that like people don't necessarily expect you to have. It's the equivalent. It's the item equivalent of Delinquent, because Delinquent doesn't necessarily go in every single deck, but then again it can. Mm-hmm. And it's so one of those things that if you like go down to 3 at any one point, your opponent can Delinquent you, but no one ever like really like puts that in their head of like, oh man, I should keep my hand above 3 because I might get Delinquented, because it never happens. It's the same thing of like, oh man, I shouldn't pitch this fatty 3 retreat monster against him because he's going to Target Whistle it. So, you know.
Okay.
I don't know. Favorite's a hard thing to say. I'll go with handiwork just so I can flip everyone off.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, you talk about target whistle. Did you ever want to have a Pokepuff in your deck? Because it seems good. Like
Ooh.
you can see your opponent's hand. You know what they can
Right.
do, and all this cute stuff. It's kind of like a Looker's almost.
Yeah. I would say if I had the space, it would be nice. It's a luxury card, is what it is. It's not a necessity card.
True.
And the reason I would actually like it, not necessarily for like benching stuff on their thing, but the turns that you like play 2 or 3 trick shovels, but have to actually use them, so you don't know what's on their top deck, and then they top deck and they sit there and they think and they like try to like they fake play it, and they could mind games me by that because I fall for it every time, but they could be like, oh man, should I play this? Okay, pass. Like in those situations, I hate delinquenting because if they like mind games me and it's like it's like a hex maniac or something, I'm just like, oh god, this is the worst. I wasted my support on delinquent. But then again, like if I was able to Pokepuff and see what there was in their hand, I could know like, all right, they're setting up some cute Lysander play or something like that. So I would know to delinquent. That's what I would like it for more, rather than Pokepuffing like Shaman's.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, looking at the deck, would you make any changes to it, or do you think it's fine after playing it this weekend?
That's always one of my favorite questions that people ask, like, would you make any changes to your deck? And I've always said that there's no such thing as a perfect list.
True.
Just because everyone, like, I'm totally fine with people net decking from me. I will give you any list you ever ask for ever, because everyone plays it differently. And if you play my exact same 60 without talking to me and just looking at the list, you're probably doing it wrong, and you're probably going to lose a whole bunch of games. Like, it's honestly, like, that's how it is. It's just because, like, everyone makes their own changes to make them good for themselves, and people need to like learn that real quick. That net decking is fine to an extent. It's a good starting spot. It's always a good place to start. But then again, like if you don't like handiwork, cut it. Like just because I got 5th does not mean you need to play handiwork. Cut that crap instantly. So yeah, that actually leading on to that. Yeah, handiwork would be one I would cut if depending on the format of your tournament and depending how fast of a player you are. Like I always have played lightning quick, which is something I think most people. If you're playing Sable Garb, you need to play lightning quick, like you need to, and that means that you need to know the deck forwards and backwards. That means you need to practice just a crap load with it, and if you don't have the time, then just don't play the deck. But anyways, the only other card that I found was dead most of the tournament was Hex Maniac, and it's in the deck for Archeops and pretty much Archeops alone. Because in the dark matchup, it is uber important that you take away their free retreat because they have dark patch. And so even if they waste their attachment on their active, they go attach, dark patch, dark patch. And you're like, ooh, and then they start slaying you.
Yeah.
So if you can stick something like that in the active, it's nice. When I played against the Evil Tall Maxis, my 2 opponents that played it opted for Gallade. They hit the turn 1, but they got Gallade out instead. Which I don't necessarily like. It's I see what they're thinking because now they're going to premonition, and they're like, oh cool, if he ever Lysanders this up, I'll just slap a DC on and smack him in the face. And I don't want to put this 2 retreat fatty on the bench that does nothing for me.
Yeah.
I get it. I get the reasoning behind it, but I feel like you need to go for Archeops 100% of the time. Because if you premonition, it's a fun, I love that fun little thing. I've practiced against my roommate Grady for so long, and he played the crap out of Evil Tom Maxis, and he would premonition, but put the card that he wanted actually second on the top of the deck, because he knew if I trick shoveled, like, I would get rid of the good card. It's this weird mind games. So, like you almost want to put the good cards, like, on the 2nd and 4th ones, or, like, the 1st, 3rd, and 5th, because if I handiwork, I'm hitting an odd number off the top of your deck, and, it's so weird. So
yeah, that is definitely weird.
So that's why premonition's, like, maybe not the best decision, but I get it, because it's not some fatty I can Lysander and stick. Because it also sucks to like attach a dark energy to your Archeops to have retreat. Like now you're wasting one of your like 6 or 7 darks, and the rest of them are just getting hammered off. So yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. Contrary to popular belief, because a lot of people are like, oh, did you just get really lucky with your hammer flips? I probably flipped less than 50% of my hammers this week. It was not great. But the thing is I hit the hammers when I needed to. Yeah. And I missed them when I was like, you got an energy drink, shame and whatever. I'm like, cool. Just doing this for fun. Here we go. I like doing it.
Yeah,
I
I think
like
it's.
playing hammers.
I think it's like people think like hammers are like don't get me wrong, they are important, but I don't. They're not like super important because Lysander Saw is so strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're good from turns 3 to turns 8. They are the golden card you need. From then on, they are like the worst card in your deck.
Yeah.
Because you're locking them anyways. They're not even going to attach energy. And if they do, they're doing it to their bench, not to their active. And if they do it to their active, you got Flare Grunt. So, yeah, they're crazy important right away. I do like that you can play like the swag league promos. Like those are pretty hot. I've never like really been a fan of like just super hot cards, but like the league promo crushing hammers, like those are the best.
What about Golden Garbodor? He's pretty cool.
See, like my buddy owns 2 of them, but he lives like all the way in Yakima, and like I wish I could use those because oh man, and I wish I wasn't poor because then oh man, but alas, those 2 things are true. So
Yeah. All right, man. Well, how many championship points do you at right now?
good question. 170,
70.
160. I got 40 from Worlds. I got a couple league challenges, and I think I got 80 from 5th. So yeah, about 160, 170 area.
Do you think
So
the 500 is doable, or do you think it's like really hard?
it's hard. I mean, obviously, like it would suck because like last year I'd be in a great position because I'm like, cool, I topped regionals, here I go.
Yeah.
But then again, these last 2 years I've gotten 500 both years. So like I know that I can do it, but like with the revised tournament structure and with everyone just being so cutthroat, it's one of those things where you can do it. It's just a lot more discouraging early on. So like keep your head up, kids. Like we'll all get through this.
Somehow.
Like 2016's almost over, man. Like that whole thing. So like it sucks. It's gonna suck for a lot of people. I feel like 400. If you're gonna adjust the tournament structure so drastically, it's not necessarily like we can blame them all we want for being lackluster in terms of scheduling tournaments and whatnot, and that kind of does hinder it. We get it. But if you're gonna change the tournament structure so drastically, don't also drastically change the CP.
Yeah.
Like go 400. Make it exclusive but still doable. Make it so that topping 1 regionals will still get you there. I feel like it was very unfair of them to say, hey, cool, you topped a regionals. Hey, cool, you maxed out the rest of your stuff. You're still not in. You know? We all know how hard it is to top a regionals. It's not easy.
Yeah.
For some people it is, but not for everyone. And I feel like that's the worst part is that you have to now top 2 regionals, maybe even 3 if you live in either A, area where there's just a crap ton of good people, or B, in an area that doesn't run league challenges, right? It's so hard. Now you have to travel, now you have to do all this, and that's not doable for a lot of people. So the 10 people that get to play in Worlds are going to have a lot of fun, but the other ones are. So
The 10 people for day 2, and then the 5 people for day 1.
right?
Or whatever it is, whatever math that like comes out. Like
Gonna be a 2-round tournament. Gee, like the stream is gonna last like an afternoon. Like call it good. They're gonna make no money on merch. Pokemon's gonna go under. Everyone's gonna quit and go play Yu-Gi-Oh, and they're gonna have just a crappy time with their life. Mass suicides all across the. I don't know.
I don't know if I'm gonna switch to Yu-Gi-Oh if that's the case. I might switch.
Oh
to
yeah, no. I'm in a dark place if that ever happens.
All of the TCGs.
I owe someone a lot of money and favors and time if that ever happens. Oof. I'm already not in a good spot if that happens, man.
Yeah. All right, so you want to give any shout outs to anybody before we head out?
Oh boy, that's the worst part is that there's so many people to give shout outs to, and that's like a good thing, right? Because that means I have a lot of support and I love it. All my Poke Beach guys, love them to death. My Draw Pass guys, love them. Everything in Spokane Pokemon, like it was great. They all were on the Spokane Pokemon page, just like cheering me on the entire time. They're like, Alex is making a deep run. Here we go. Which is awesome. To Ben, my buddy Ben, who played the same 60 as me, didn't get as lucky as I did. he started poorly, and his first win of the day was against a Mega Steelix deck. If that, I mean, there are a lot of free matchups for Sable Garb, but I don't know if there's anything more free than Mega Steelix.
And he's like 5 energies to attack.
Right?
Yeah.
5 energies to attack, and every single energy they play is a special. Ooh, sorry, buddy. Here's Sableye Garbodor. I mean, yeah, you're playing at like table 200 at that point, but still, like, cool, rough. So yeah, a big shout out to Ben for playing it. My buddy Matt stayed in his room, and then as always, Grady for being such a great testing partner. He's moving out, and so now I'm not gonna have anyone to test against, except my cat, and he's not very good. So a rough time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's it. Anything else?
No, I think that's it. I think I've answered or asked everything I wanted to. So thanks once again for doing the interview. Congrats. Mega top
Thanks.
8 with Sable Garbodor. Oh, are you going to go to Anaheim?
Yeah, Anaheim's the next one. I can't make Dallas because I'm still in Germany at that point. But Anaheim will be the next one. I think it's standard, and like thinking about standard makes me dry heave. So
Is it really standard?
know. I think so.
Man,
I don't know. If it is, I got a lot of work ahead of me. If it's not, then I'll go ahead and just top it again with Sable Garb.
You're like, oh, I already know what deck I'm playing because
I am. If it's expanded, I'm at 90% right now playing Sable Garb.
Oh, it's
the only
confirmed.
reason-
It's standard.
It's standard.
Yep, I have the list pulled on my phone.
Okay. Oof, yeah. I got a lot in my stomach. I gotta try to keep it down. Standard is awful. It's the worst format in the history of Pokemon TCG. Like,
You talk Garbodor, get ready for everything.
woo.
Yay.
The thing that boggles my mind is that, like, why aren't people just like, I know that there's like cool Jolteon stuff like the Jolteon Pidgeot thing and like that sort of thing, but like why aren't people playing more Lightning? Like Alex Hill, like it took him that long for people to realize like, oh, if we pair Lightning with Garbodor, maybe it's good. Like I'm just mind boggled how people just like aren't playing like Raichu Garb or like straight Raichu or like putting 2/2 Strika into everything they're playing. Like
Raichu Bats or something like that. Like
Raichu Bats. Like why aren't people doing this stuff? Like it blows my mind. So like since it's standard, I'm probably gonna play some sort of Vespiquen box deck. I think that deck's super strong. And I played it last year at States. I really like it. A lot of cool. It has the familiar Sable Garb feel of like you don't know what's in here. Like you're gonna you're gonna come up with a lot of texts that are just gonna blow your mind and you're gonna lose. So, but no, I hate standard. Standard sucks. It's the worst.
Alright guys, but hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something new about Sableye Garbodor. It's a really interesting, and I promise the deck is super hard to play. Like you said, if you haven't tested it, please do not play it at a tournament. You will be like, I don't know what's going on.
You'll go 0-3 drop and hate your life.
Yeah, so yeah. I do not encourage you playing this unless you tested it a lot. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you one more time, Alex, for doing the interview. Really do appreciate it. You guys have a great day. Alrighty, bye. Alright guys, I just want to give a quick shout out to our 3 sponsors, 60 Cards, Yeti Gaming, and the Pokemon Company International. Links to everything will be down below in the description. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Alrighty.